Whoever said money can't solve your problems must have not had enough money to solve them. They say which one? Nah, I want all of them. Happiness is the same price as red bottoms. That was the lyrics to Ariana Grande's Seven Rings. And these lyrics may seem like they are a catchy metaphor, but when taking a closer look and pondering the idea, it becomes quite the question. Does money truly buy happiness? The 2020 COVID-19 pandemic shifted the world as we understood it. Differences between politics and class became glaringly obvious. Stay-at-home orders for the wealthy meant an extended vacation with new streaming content, and FOMO, the fear of missing out, became their greatest threat. But for many working class people, that same stay-at-home order surmounted to truancy for students who had poor access to internet, homelessness, layoffs, and in many, many cases, death for people who were in poor, high-risk areas, such as elderly in communities who lived in super spreader residencies, incarcerated people, and employees that were essential workers in positions that did not have funding to properly sanitize or provide adequate preventative health care. All of these tragedies could have arguably been prevented by a myriad of ways, but the most glaring fact of all is if these same high-risk people had access to money and resources, they would not have been nearly as at risk of the exposure to COVID, nor would the death rate be as high. Money is a resource that creates happiness, and it is imperative to having that freedom to feel that happiness. The difference between having access to money and living humbly is the difference between scraping by an unlived potential and realizing your dreams. Take award-winning artist Cardi B, for example. And Cardi B's rise to fame is well documented as she has been open about her struggles before her wealth and, what her life is compared to now. She recently inquired on her Instagram Live, how are people surviving? I want to know, my family and my friends are so grateful to have me, she said, after mentioning earlier in the live that she was helping her cousin to get an apartment. But what about the people who don't have me? She continued to detail about how being able to help her family brought her pure happiness and joy. Most of us are familiar with her famous Rags to Riches anthem, Bodak Yellow, during her rise to fame. In it, she says, got a bag, fix my teeth, hope you hoes that know that it is not cheap. Inversely, she has also shared tales of being forced to drop out of college because she was earning only $200 a week and could not afford basic necessities. She candidly shared how she lived with a physically, mentally, and emotionally abusive boyfriend at the time who had her resort to stripping and crime to escape that lifestyle. But Cardi B is one of the many examples that mental health does improve as a direct correlation to financial success and wealth. Speaking of mental health and wealth, it is also apparent a lack of money and resources can be detrimental to mental health by providing credible statistics regarding the consequences to poverty. Support of this is evident when comparing wealth or lack thereof to suicide rates. This is even more scary when considering a 2023 CNBC study revealed that 70% of Americans are stressed about their personal finances, and of those 70%, 58 are living paycheck to paycheck. This means that most Americans are one termination away from being homeless or one unexpected expense away from being homeless. It is this homelessness that leads to major depression and does contribute to suicide. According to Dr. Matt Killingsworth, a Harvard graduate and a current senior fellow at Wharton University, though, money factually buys happiness. It isn't just a sociology or a philosophical question for pondering. It is a definitive fact. Comparing incomes to the absence of depression and other mental health disorders, the more income people had, the more fulfilled they reported being. Having money up to $100,000, the study showed, directly correlated with the study participants' quality of life. So 85% of the US population actually makes under $100,000. This means that most people do have the ability to buy happiness. As our founding father, Thomas Jefferson, wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and people were created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because we don't have financial freedom, we can't have happiness. They are one and the same and they work together. But with more money, we can all be the best self that we dream ourselves to be." So, I do want to mention that I am not oblivious to the fact that money can cause strife, envy, and division. Greed has been the reason for wars and ruined families and countless scenarios. So I'm not advocating for just throwing money at all of our problems. But when there is access to money, there is a burden lifted to refrain from participating in risky behaviors simply to get by. Our self-appreciation, gratitude, and self-preservation increases because we do have that luxury of financial freedom. However, I do also want to go ahead and mention it is in itself, money, that is simply a resource. Resource which, when readily available, greatly improves the trajectory of our lives. Whether it creates stability for someone who struggles with mental health, or it enables someone in an abusive relationship to get out like it did for Cardi B, money as a resource can be used to obtain happiness. The sooner that we can all stop fooling ourselves with the notion that money does not buy happiness, the sooner we can all effectively solve so many of our social issues. For most of us, to gain money is to lose stress, and to lose stress is to truly be happy. Thank you.